So without further ado, let's get into the market update for you, avid investors. What is going on in the market? The data tips slightly on the side of sellers market. However, in activity and actions and feel, it does not feel like either a seller or a buyer weighted market. Higher range prices, if it's priced at the max you could ask for it in a price range, those items are receiving harder pushback from buyers. So when pricing your property, if you price it at the max, you might sit longer and negotiate further or have price drops than you would if it smells and seems like a fair deal, where multiple offers might still happen. My client load right now is an indicator for myself, and it's fairly balanced between both buyers and sellers. 1031 buyers always exist, and that's a good thing because otherwise the investment and residential income market has been just a little bit on the sleepier side here in Idaho. And I think lately, and a lot of that may have to do with previous spiked activity or just the cap rates themselves. Otherwise, inspection negotiations have not been as aggressive as we saw them being during the bidding wars and the super crazy times. So really your inspection negotiations are also going to have an impact on your price or vice versa. And finally, the year started really slow. We just didn't have that much going on in Q1, January, February, March, but then it has really maintained its momentum through now. I'm supposed to be a lot more relaxed in November or bored or catching up on other things than I have had a chance to do yet. It's been hopping, with the only sign of chilling out that I can find out there coming from the lenders. Their approvals, applications are down a little bit. So maybe we're finally going to come into our little fall slumber zone. But that's what's going on in the market right now in a nutshell. Of course, interest rates play a huge part of the story right now. And you all heard about the Fed dropping interest. But remember, by the time we get that news, a lot of times it's old news when it comes to the 10-year Treasury yield, which is what affects our actual interest rates. So that number was at its low October 21st, 2025 at 3.95, and we're up a little bit since then. And this is the chart of basically this year, what this year looks like. What if we look at 5 years? How does that look? How do our rates look? Or what if we look at a lifetime? They started tracking this just before the 80s, the faded 80s that keep coming up in conversation now that we complain about interest rates that start with a 6. Everyone mentions the 80s, and there they were, way higher than we are now. But there's this indirect relationship between those Fed rate hikes and that 10-year Treasury yield. And what they say is it's a market-driven rate. By the time the Fed actually cuts the rates, the market has often already priced the interest in expectations of that move. And then, of course, if things change or shift expectations, then we'll see that in a reaction. But this is what your interest rates look like right now. Little higher than we saw before, but they're kind of around 6. Everything's around 6, with multifamily investment being 6.5. You can buy the rates down and get them down lower. Single family houses and single family investments are almost the same right now. You can get a 5-year ARM or a 7-year ARM to shrink those rates. And a lot of buyers, Dave Rusk says, are taking advantage of those shorter term locked rates as opposed to locking in higher at 30 years. So they're planning on refinancing somewhere down the line. There's this expectation of what may, or they're planning on selling. So anyone who's buying a house needs to have a really good lender and a good conversation, because there's some strategy involved there. It's just depends on what your plans are.
Stacy, on the interest rates, I hear on a podcast that the big builders will buy down interest rates for buyers on new buys. Do you ever see that for people selling onesies, twosies, or individual sellers? Do they ever buy down interest rates?
Yes.
I mean, what's
Go ahead, Danielle. You've experience you wanted to.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Did it. We ended up somehow strong negotiations
After being 2 days on market in a very hot house, we got total of $14,000 in concessions for guests. to use.
Whoa,
And it kind of, he got to choose how he wanted to use it, whether it was for buy down, closing cost. Either way, so yes, resale will still allow it. It might just not be as hefty as a brand new build. But there's still plenty of opportunity.
How much can $10,000 buy down, sure, as an example?
Dave Rusk's rates at ICCU is a 0.625% buy down. So less than 1% of the loan amount. And if you spend that, it drops the rate 3.75, 0.3, from 6.5 to 6.125.
You spend how much?
A point, less than a point.
Less than a point.
I can speak directly on that too, based on what I was able to do with my lender for that. So we were able to buy my rate down from 6, I think it was 6.1 was the initial coming into it. We were able to buy it down with only 1.5 worth of actual money down on that buy down to 5.75. So it was it ended up being a really good deal. So I was able to end up shaving almost, I think it was $400 or so a month off that rate. Just do that really small amount.
And then sometimes you'll see it in the remarks. Now, my preference as a listing agent is if you're going to give up some money, I'd like to give it up on the price because that's where it really hits everybody home, you know, but say you're willing to give up, I don't know, a little bit and whatever. I've seen some sellers advertising, well, they started as a $10,000 seller credit toward buyer closing costs. And you can only, with a conventional loan, you can't credit more than the closing costs actually are. So for a buyer to use that, there's going to be a rate buy down involved because this house was below the median price of homes, like 4 something. So they were offering 10, then they did a big price decrease. And then we caught interest and then we wrote the credit in, even though it was a cash buyer. And they're like, well, this isn't just meant to be. And I'm like, whatever. You offered it, we're saying yes, yes, please, and thank you. But they had then, when after the price drop, a little bit delayed, I noticed is they dropped it to a 5,000 seller credit toward closing costs. And that's what they negotiated with us. And that house is still available, actually. So you're welcome. Good question. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, single family homes. Median price of homes in Ada County. I'd say, does anyone want to guess what it is? But it's right there. We're at 550,000, you guys, is the median price of homes in Ada County right now. And what's really interesting is that is a flat line between last October and this data, which is October data. Throughout the year, comparing August to August, we saw it a little up, a little higher. But yeah, this year we're exactly where we were last October. And most affordable homes in Ada County, brand new homes in Kuna and Meridian got the best price for new builds this year with their, let's see, they were a median of 455,000. There were some homes in Kuna and Meridian that were 455,000 in median. Boise has the lowest days on market in Ada County. So while there's so much new growth everywhere and Boise is a little bit more filled up, it's still a desirable place to live. And 10 new homes priced below the median still sold really quickly in Star and Meridian. So there were brand new homes in Star and Meridian that were selling pretty quickly. And let's see, 76% of the new home sales in Ada County are occurring in Star and in Meridian. A lot of growth there.
47, that's for Ada County, days on market.
Yes.
How much is Boise? Is it Boise?
Less.
Just, you're not sure how.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So-
Less. Great question. I can follow up with it. Probably I'd say 30 something, 30 high, 30 low, 30 something, maybe upper 30s. I'm gonna say 30 high, 39. That's just a guess. We can prove me right or wrong later. 847 homes sold was up a little bit year over year since last October. And the activity's been all over the place. It's been, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's really case specific. So there's just deals to be had in little pockets, but there's not one widespread area where everyone's buying, like new build or like resale. In Boise, it's more resale. In Kuna, it's new build. Our inventory is way up, and our resale homes have an average of 80 days on market. Oh, wait, no, yeah, sorry. Reverse that. Any resale home that hits an average of 80 days on market, you can expect to see that it's dropped its price at least $25,000. So in the real estate world, there's problems and there's solutions. And there may be a variety of solutions, but there's always one reliable solution. Price fixes everything. And that's what we're seeing. Price is getting that inventory to move. When it's too high, when it's too weird, when it's just not moving, price will fix that. But that's Ada County. And we have another amazing county in this area that Danielle is an expert in and is going to tell us about Canyon counties. Danielle, what's going on in 2C?
Perfect. As we all know, I love Canyon County because that's where I live. Lived here since 2012. So Canyon County is definitely my favorite. We have seen the median price sale go up. And that obviously has to do with the population. So the population change in 2024, 3.6%, and Ada's 2.1. With this median sales price being at $425 in Canyon County, Star is actually the city with the highest median price range, and there are only 7 homes sold in Star. So yes, they're more expensive in Canyon County. Yes. Yeah, then 7 of those 7 were in Star.
Because I never really realized
It's weird.
Stars
In both. So you'll see that on both the Ada County and the Canyon County numbers. Average days on market, we have seen that gone down. There were 560 pending homes. 61% of them were actually new. And with that, the days on market. So the resale homes, the days on market are at 90 days. So we've seen 45% of those drop $30,000 or under their original list price. And 25% of the pending 560, those are not set to close until 2026. So we are seeing a little bit longer escrows. With the new homes and the 450 homes sold, 40% of those were brand new, and 45% of those new homes were in Nampa, and 35% were in Caldwell. So we are seeing most of the growth being in Nampa and Caldwell, specifically within Canyon County. And I've seen a lot of investors recently investing in specifically Nampa, and if they're near the Costco on that northern side, they do rent very well. So it depends where you do, but Nampa is performing very well in terms of investments.
Thank you, Danielle.
Especially,
Yes.
we went to Parade of Homes.
Yeah.
For in one area, north of Star.
Okay.
Just east of the highway that goes up to Washington. We looked at 4 homes. The prices, now, we weren't gonna buy, we were just looking.
Yeah,
to see
for
what's
fun.
on it.
Yeah.
Prices range from $2.1 to $2.4 million.
Yes.
Incredible. Are those houses selling?
Yeah. 7 of them.
I mean, that kind of price range, and holy cow.
It's not younger families. It's folks who are a little bit older, and it's interesting that plus over $1 million markets, a lot of cash buyers. So they're not dealing with those interest rates.
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the more luxury homes are being built in Star, and that is why the median sales price, Star's throwing off that median sales price because of the luxury homes being built over there.
They all have 3 bedrooms.
That was neat.
2.1 to
Yeah.
2.4 million.
You'll have to go to the Parade of Homesteads. They're really fun.
That's great.
They're
One of
They're
those
very
homes had 16-foot ceiling. That's luxury.
Where we're trying to sell the house legal, cash buyer, 1.8 million.
That's,
Wow.
That's a lot of-
Are those nice sized lots with a view?
Either they don't know how to manage their money.
And Dave, something that you had asked that I wanted to mention because it could fall into Canyon County is I offered on my home that I sold $5,000 concession with a full price offer. And that somehow made it go. After been sitting for 2 weeks, that one change made it drop. Made it go under contract. And they could use it however they wanted.
Instead of price. So sometimes you gotta, there's no.
Can go either way. And I think for Des, with you, I recommended let's use it for closing costs and rate buy down because it made a bigger difference in terms of asking for a lower price.
so if you had a house that's ready to be sold today, would you put it on the market today or wait until June?
Let's not get it going. See, that's hard with the holidays.
I'd get it on today, it
Yeah.
still happen. It's starting to slow
Yeah.
down, but it's not dead yet. And you could always put it on the market today, and if you didn't sell it right now, you know, you give it its time, and if it just turned into crickets. You
Take
just
it
take it
off.
off for 31 days, but not 30, 31 days,
And
and
then put
then
it
it
back
comes
on.
on fresh. And what'll happen is someone will start looking around and call you even when it's off the market. That's how you'll know it's back, the market's back.
Best time for buyers is in the winter when nobody else wants to move.
Right, good job, thank you,
A
Danielle.
lot of families visiting, so, like 2 years ago, we were visiting, and that's when we started thinking, oh, maybe we should be here. Cause you have family visiting or friends visiting from out of town. Start looking.
Kevin, did you have a question?
It looks like a lot of the action will be in Caldwell and Canyon. Does Canyon stretch all the way to Fruitland and Fayette as well, or the different counties?
That's touching.
I think that Canyon does include. Oh, no.
Does it go into?
No, what is,
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
there's some, because there's, New Plymouth,
New Plymouth is Canyon,
New Plymouth is Canyon.
and so it doesn't sound like you
Emmett.
stretch, you don't stretch that far west of them. In your experiences as much. My question about
No.
Fruitland and Fayette, and so if you don't go out that way, I won't.
Yes, in terms of selling, I've had some listing appointments over there. We didn't end up going to market, but in terms of numbers, yes, we can pull them up. But here we just do Canyon and Ada, but we can get you numbers on.
I was just
Fruitland area.
curious on your opinion on those markets. If you think, population and growth trends push west, and if they push that far past Nampa Caldwell, or if Nampa Caldwell is primarily where your growth is gonna stop
In terms of investment in your rentals,
in terms of investing in a multifamily property out in Fruitland.
I manage one in Payette
Okay.
and it is slower.
Yeah.
It is slower. Not terrible, depending on
Slower
when
rent growth, higher vacancy, all the above.
all. Yep. And I can get you details on that one and show you kind of what's been going on with it.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thanks, Danielle, good job. All right, guys, well, we have some games to play, so I'm gonna just pop into the, let's see, where are we gonna go? I'm gonna go to the cap rate slides, and then we'll call it. Tony Dross Ada data. We have an average price of $900,000 for fourplexes. Obviously, we're running number on all of the fourplexes that hit Ada. We're looking at stuff in other markets, but the Ada County fourplex data is what sets our baseline and our expectations for returns. If you're going further out there, you should be getting a little better cap rate than you're getting in Ada. So this is sort of the baseline of Boise GRM for the easy numbers, 170 all year long. It's been around 170 with a cap rate of around 4.65%. That's going to be on actual, not market rents. And October sale was about 4.2%. And that property was listed just above the median, and it sold right at the that 900,000. And the days on market has been the highest we've seen in 5 years. Although it declines a little bit each month here, and it might start going back up, who knows? as we get into winter. But yeah, we've seen our days on market steadily climb. And let's see, there it is again, average price for the fourplex. That's what the bar looks like starting in 2021. You can see that it grew a little. And here's what our cap rates have looked like since 2021 for a snapshot. That red line indicates a 6-month trailing average. And if we were going to look and see what the fourplexes on the actual market right now are between Ada and Canyon, we've got a few. One seller was listed as motivated and they're still there. They were listed as motivated about a month ago. I noticed that's on Douglas, this one, and I think it's still $7.99. So they're motivated, but they haven't changed their price in a month. So I don't know how motivated that really is, but if someone's looking for a fourplex, maybe it's time to come in and offer less if they're saying motivated. And then we've got a brand new one on Mocha Lane for 1.9 million, which is one of the more expensive fourplexes that I've seen. So, and then we kind of already talked about winter vacancies. So I'm gonna let it go there because we've got some fun to have, some partying to do. It's our holiday. For those of you who came into Zoom, thanks for tuning in. Rick, good to see you. Jordan, we're gonna play LCR.